Hello and welcome. Today we are talking about My Little Pony Equestria Girls number 4, Legend of the Everfree. The movie starts off with the human Twilight having nightmares about her transformation into Midnight Sparkle, a name being used for the first time here that I don't think was ever used in the last movie. After waking up from those bad dreams, we find ourselves on a camping trip with the stool and the two principals, for some reason all going together to summer camp. So it's nice to get ourselves away from stool, even if we don't know why everyone from school is coming with us. It's nice to have a new location within this world and get a setting and a story that's a little bit different than what we've been used to up until now. Unfortunately, it is a movie that you still need to have seen everything before this to follow what's going on. As the characters arrive in camp, we're introduced to two camp counselors, Glorioso and her brother Timber Spruce. They're trying very hard to cater to the campers and give them everything that they've always wanted to do at camp and give them the most fun time at camp they've ever had and see to all of their wishes and so forth. Right away, there's some friction between the brother and sister camp counselors, but we don't really know what's going on. Though looking back at their conversation, I can tell exactly what's going on. As things move forward, the characters are paired up into different cabins, but what cabins everybody gets in this sense doesn't really matter because we're going to focus on Twilight Sparkle and Sunset Shimmer, and the others are going to be pushed off to the side for a little bit. We get some romantic tension building up between Twilight and Timber, and Flash gets some spotlight time as he realizes that the girl he has a crush on is a pony in a magical land in another dimension, and he'll probably almost never see her, and he should just give up and move on and remember that this isn't the same Twilight that he's had a crush on and that she's going to treat him like a stranger. So as Flash moves on with his life and Twilight does things with Sunset Shimmer, we go to the next part of the story, and that's the fact that Twilight is still having nightmares about turning into Midnight Sparkle. Only this time the nightmare includes Twilight waking up to find herself and several things in her room being levitated by magic. What is actually really horrible and scary and terrifying for Twilight actually excites and infuses Sunset Shimmer, as she just has to learn more about this magic and can't wait to see how long it's going to be before she develops more magical powers of her own. As time goes by in the story, we start off a running gag about a dock being broken and needing to be repaired constantly, and we also move the story forward as more members of the main cast develop magical powers. And they start to get sort of in a discussion over when are you going to get your magical powers that sort of mimics the kind of discussion teens would have with each other about when are you going to grow up and develop and change into a young adult. The characters at first are afraid to embrace the magic that they've been discovering, but after a song decide to learn how to use their magical powers and control them rather than be afraid that the magical powers will cause them to go uncontrollable and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Eventually, a villain is revealed, and the main characters have to work together and use their magic to defeat the main villain. And when they finally do learn some teamwork and learn to master their powers, they're able to win the day and come to a solution that brings everything together real nicely. But here's the thing about our villain. It's not a bad guy like the Sirens, or a person who is out to do evil like Sunset Shimmer or Midnight Sparkle. It's a character who came into some power, has good intentions, and doesn't want to really do anything evil. Filthy Rich has just bought up the campsite and is going to turn it into a day spa. So the campsite won't be around after today, and things are going to start changing. Now the plot sort of takes on a plot very similar to the Camp Candy animated series, or Ernest Goes to Camp, or any number of other 80s movies that were set in camp, where some rich billionaire was buying up the camp and going to tear the camp down and build something else in its place, and all of the campers had to band together to prevent the rich man from closing the camp, and they had to save the camp and all that stuff. But this has a few little twists that takes it off that path and puts it in a different direction. There's also a bit of a Scooby-Doo mystery going on, with a good number of both clues and misdirections that'll keep you guessing throughout the whole thing. You don't know for certain who is behind everything that's happening at camp. Is it Glorioso, because she's been acting funny this whole time? Is it her brother Timber, because of bits of conversation that we overhear and little clues that he leaves behind that cast suspicion on him? Is it the real Gaia Everfree, who, like Rainbow Dash suspects, could very well be a creature that escaped from Equestria and has real magical powers and really is real? Or is Gaia Everfree just a ghost story? Or is this Filthy Rich trying to scare off all the campers and close the camp down and build something for himself? Or is it Twilight losing control of her powers and turning back into Midnight Sparkle? There are so many possibilities being offered here, and it turns out to be Glorioso getting her hands on some magical MacGuffins and gaining powers that she uses to step into the Poison Ivy role and become a warrior in protection of the environment against Filthy Rich, and is trying to make sure that everybody has this really fun time at camp, and she just loses control of her powers. With that being said, it re-enters familiar territory, as both Glorioso, Sunset Shimmer, and Twilight Sparkle have all now been transformed at least once in their life into an evil magic wielder who couldn't control her powers and did evil stuff. The difference is that Gaia Everfree is nowhere near as dangerous or threatening as Twilight or Sunset were. In fact, overall the four movies, Rainbow Rock still comes out as one of the best for its characters, its villains, its song, and its story. Legend of the Everfree still does interesting stuff, especially in fixing Twilight and Flash's love lives. But just like with Rainbow Rocks, we don't get to see anybody kissing, and the almost kiss is sort of blocked by a third character who gets in between the kiss and interrupts it. Whether it's because it's a TVY series and we're not allowed to kiss in a TVY series, or whether it's for other reasons, I can't particularly say. the fact that the main characters have also gained magical powers and have these crystals that give them magic allows them to come back in a fifth movie and do all kinds of magical girl superhero stuff and save the day from different things that could go wrong in a fifth movie. And we also get some amazing talking lines from characters like Derpy and Bulk Biceps, which was unexpected but a welcomed addition to the story. The songs aren't as great as Friendship Games or Rainbow Rocks or even the first movie, but they are still decent songs. A few of them sound like songs that I've heard before. Some of them didn't sound so great, but there's a couple of good ones mixed in with the bad ones, so I'd say song-wise a little bit better than the first Equestria Girls. Definitely not as good as Rainbow Rocks. Nothing has beaten Rainbow Rocks yet. Probably not as good as the third one, but maybe a little bit. It's kind of hard to place per se, but I do feel there were a few songs that really didn't contribute anything to moving the story forward, which has been sort of the trend throughout most of Season 6. I did another video on songs overall, and you can watch that if you so choose. The idea of the camp having a camp gift is also something I find relatable, as in Boy Scout camp and other camping organizations that were similar to Boy Scouts I was also a part of. We always did some kind of service project to build something physical that the camp could use, which would still physically be at that camp every time we came back, and we could look upon it and say, hey, we built this and it's still in use and it still looks good, and we contributed something to the camp that everyone can enjoy, and it will be around for a good long time. Another thought about Legend of the Everfree is the fact that we didn't have any lead up to this in the form of animated shorts. Instead, we got a whole ton of spoiler clips that practically gave away the entire movie. I really do sort of miss having the animated shorts to set up what's about to happen, like we got before and after Rainbow Rocks. As much as I love seeing Sunset Shimmer and Flash Sentry possibly being a thing, I really do think Flash Sentry ships a lot better with Derpy, as there is no Dr. Hooves in the Equestria Girls universe for Derpy to go to, and she's always there for him too. Every time Flash is feeling down, she's right there next to him with a little comforting pat on the back. And then at the very end of our story, we get to see a little shot of something that I wasn't able to make out on my first viewing, but which I figured out what it was when I saw it again and again. What we're looking at is the front of CHS and the pillar that used to be the statue. As you remember, Midnight Sparkle damaged the statue when she was attacking everybody and ripping portals into Equestria and so forth. And there's a little crack in the statue, and through that crack all kinds of magical energy is escaping out into the world. So I imagine future episodes might deal with various characters trying to gain magical energy or coming in contact with magic, and the heroes having to use their powers to save the day from all sorts of new villains who suddenly have magic out of nowhere. But that's about all I have to say for it right now. Thank you for watching, and good night.